Hello, 皆さん、こんにちは。Hi, this is Keiko, your Japanese teacher. So today was lesson 2. So we can start from the second day. じゃあ、始めます。Okay, so today we're gonna do about myself, 私ですね。So, this again, I will tell you about this course subject, objects. So, survival Japanese objects to understanding and exchange and communication. This is the keyword of this survival Japanese class. So, the meaning of learning about Japanese culture and Japanese language and the people who live in Japan, and then interact with the people with similar interests, communicate about their own and own culture. So the meaning of to exchange to other people. So today we are, we continue. There is the 12 students, our students coming to here. So later on, you can talk with them, each groups. So let's begin. So this course will be topic, have a topics, 3 topics. Yesterday we learned about Nihongo. So how to greetings in Japanese, how change the call the names. So today we're gonna do about watashi, which is myself. And then today's goal will be the number 2, watashi, give a self introduction. Give a simple self introduction. And then number 3, watashi, talk briefly about your family. So today we're gonna do learning about these things about myself. So our schedule, yesterday we did the Nihongo, Japanese, greetings, and a little bit self-introduction. And then today we're gonna do about watashi. So self-introduction in Japanese, and then talk about your family. And tomorrow will be tabemono, foods, favorite food or dishes or offer drink or order food. And then Friday, final day will be review, fukushu. So talking about this summer program, how was it? Or something like that, share with the interests about each other's. Okay. So this survival Japanese course will be structure will be like this lectures. First starting I doing the lecture, and second one is conversation time. And then after that, back to here, and then again starting lecture 2, and then conversation 2. So today we're gonna do lecture 1 will be about the self-introduction. So I will give some topics, tips about doing the self-introduction in Japanese. Then after that, divided group maybe 10, 12, and then doing the conversation, maybe 20 minutes around that. And after that, back to the again here, and then we are learning about telling about your family. So how to introduce your family, or what you telling about your family in Japanese. So we learn after that, again, making the groups conversation, doing the conversation about your family. Today is like going to this way. So this is the main point about the this survival Japanese course. So what is important is to simple phrase, using the simple phrase, and then the time management. So making the groups, so try to speak everyone. So for everyone can speak, it's important to time management. And also the next one is common language. This is survival Japanese course. So survival meaning using the common language, not sticking to use Japanese or English. Doesn't matter. So using any gesture or anything like you can use, and then using a common language and then communicate it to each other. And also respect to thinking about other person things, consider about other person and respect to each other. And then in the last is communication to enjoy conversation. So I forgot to mention about this photo. This photo from the view from the onsen, hot spring from Kada located to very close to here, maybe 20 minutes by the car. So there is one hotels can see like this view. So this is the view from the onsen hot spring. If when you come to the Wakayama or Wakayama University, you can go to this onsen. So please visit that. So like why I use this photo like enjoy and relax is important. So don't worry about not doing a nervous or anything. Just relax and enjoy your conversation. This is so okay. Hi, and then today's member will be from 8 countries ですね. And then Indonesia, and then Uzbekistan. And then Serbia. De Vietnam. Brazil. Thai. Chugok. And Bangkok. And also here, our student will be Nihon, Japan, Nihon, and Malaysia. So 10 countries, peoples coming to stay here. So let's exchange, talk about a lot later on. Okay. So today we're gonna do about the 3 main goals. One is to give a simple self-introduction. Second, talk briefly about your family. And then 3, tell some about your family using a family photo. This is today's goal. Then let's begin. So yesterday we did this one. So these are Wakayama University student, and then meet first time. So how do you say? Everyone answered, はじめまして, and then using the name, and then どうぞよろしく. Yes. So today we're gonna do a little bit more specific focus about this self-introduction. So first time when we meet, はじめまして、山田です。Then お名前はワンです。ワンさんですね。どうぞよろしく。So yesterday we did just only one person talking to the other person. Today's one is communication, interaction. First time Yamada-san asking to name her name, and then she answer, and then ワンさんですね。どうぞよろしく。There is some little bit interaction they have. So today we are doing self-introduce to, that means asking each other about asking each other. Then next one. どちらから中国です。そうですか。中国語できますか？はい、少しできます。はい、皆さん。I'm gonna asking, what does mean 中国語できますか？
Can you speak
Can
Chinese?
you speak Chinese?
はい、can you speak Chinese? はい。So, ワンさん asking, can you speak Chinese? So, because ワンさん中国 from China, so you can speak China? Yes, I can little bit 少しできます。So, today you can ask each other about どちらですか? Our country です。 そうですか。Our country language できますか？はい、できます。Yes, I can. はい、少しできます。Yes, little bit. 勉強中です。No, I'm learning. いいえ、できません。いいえ、できません。So, language. インドネシア。インドネシア語。ウズベキスタン。ウズベク語。セルビア。セルビア語。ベトナム。ベトナム語。ブラジル。ポルトガル語。タイ。タイ語。中国。中国語。韓国。韓国語。So, you can asking to other person, can you speak our country language? For me, Uzbek and Serbia is I never maybe I'm not familiar about these words, so very curious about how to say good morning, greetings about like this yesterday we learned. So let's teach your language greetings or self-introduce during the self-introduce. And then next time we can talk each other, use your or each language ですね。So next one. So finished the self-introduction asking the name. Then, what is your occupation? So, お仕事はエンジニアです。エンジニアです。そうですか。私は主婦です。This is normally conversation like asking the occupation. But now we are all the not job worker, ね。I mean, so we are all students. So how do answer? お仕事は everyone, how do you answer? What do you answer?
学生です。
Yes, 学生です。学生です。Yes. So everyone, お仕事は学生です。It's very, そうですか。私も学生です。It's very boring でしょ？ So, today we gonna do 大学の専攻は What is your major? What is your major? 法律です。法律です。That means law. My major is law. そうですか。私は経済学です。そうですか。私は経済学です。I see. My major is economics. Like this way, you can ask each other. We already know we are students. So that's why you can ask each other your major. What is your major in Japanese? So, Wakayama University, we have 4 kind of the major, 専攻 major called 専攻 in Japanese. So, first, 経済学 economics. And second, システム工学 system engineering. And then 観光学 tourism. And then 教育学 education. We have 4 kind of the major we have. So our university students belong to some this 4 kind of the major. So how about you? Yours? It's too many ですね。Law, literature, blah, 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 blah. So I can't translate now. So you can ask if you don't know how to say your major in Japanese. So you can ask later on when during the conversation, you can ask our students to how to say your major in Japanese. There are lot of kind of the major they have ですね、皆さん。Anybody knows how to say in Japanese in these majors? Can you say your major in Japanese? How? Law is the 法律。 How about the others? Anybody can say your major in Japanese?
日本文学部。
あ、日本文学部、Japanese literature ですね。How about the other? どうですか？ No, no, not. Okay, then later on you can ask to your partner later on ね。Okay. さあ、then. はい。じゃあ、then this is the group activity time. So, self-introduction. はじめまして。何々です。お名前は何々です。どちらからだだだだです。学生です。大学の専攻はだだだだです。So, try to doing the group activity with the others ね。Now, how many people? 89. So, okay. So, before starting, I just have make some rules. I will show you some rules. Okay. Activity rules. Number 1. Use Japanese phrase. Try to speak in Japanese. Not fluently, not full of Japanese. I asked that. Use the phrase you have learned, or you can use the phrase you just know. So not totally. That mean not mean totally talking in Japanese. It does not mean. And second, use common language. So not sticking to use Japanese or English, any. So use common language. And then number 3, ask any questions. So when you can ask any question to the person who spoke. So if you have any questions, always you can ask them, ask each other. Okay. Then face-to-face via online. This is important. If I can't see your face, very little bit worried how reacted she's okay or how he is okay. So try to turn on the video and the microphone and communicate to each other and enjoyable. This is the most important activity rules. So, wait a minute. So, okay. So now we have 8 rooms, かな? And if it's gonna be ready, I will tell you. Okay. So now preparing. So what are you gonna talking about? Or just quickly you want to ask how to say this measure in Japanese? Is anybody wants to know, or is that okay? Or どうですか? はい、よかさん。そう。はい、どうぞ、よかさん。
How you say Spanish language and literature?
スペイン語。Yeah, Spanish, Spain, and Italian, Italia. So, language, 語. Normally, country plus 語 is that mean language. So, スペイン語、イタリア語、韓国語。
ありがとう。
どういたしまして。So, I want to say, your name. Zoom の your name. Now, UK, よかさん。Like よかさん。Wendy さん。SDU, Wendy さん。So, maybe university name and your name. So, maybe here, type your nickname or something like you want to call name is better. So, yeah, waiting time, please change your name to nickname or you just want to 呼んでほしい名前. For example, me, Keiko. So, I'm gonna change to my name to nickname, Kei-chan. So I'm gonna change to my name to nickname ね。ケイちゃん。So you can call to hi Kei chan or Yoka chan, Wendy chan, Maki chan. So this is easier to communication. So please now change your name to nickname or your name when you want to call. ちょっと待ってくださいね。Okay, so now is already ready かな？じゃあ、I'm gonna start the breakout room. So everybody come back ですか？皆さん帰ってきた？ちょっと待ってね。今私、preparing to next session. So, just what we did, self-introduction, and also what is your major? My major is blah, blah, blah. I see my major is blah, blah, blah. And then could you talk to all of them? Can you? できました。Okay. So, next session, next tema will be talk about your family. Talk about your family. So, this is quickly about the family words. So this is 私, myself. So my father, 父. My father is 父. My mother is 母. My mother is 母. And then my older brother is 兄. And then my older sister is 姉. And then my younger brother is 弟. And then my younger sister is 妹. So when you're telling about my family, so for example, this one. 私の家族は3人です。私の家族は3人です。父と母と私です。For example. So, 3 people, that means 3人。1人。When you counting the person, people, you be using like this one. One person, 1人。alone, 1人。Two person, 2人。3人、4人、5人、6人、7人。So, 私の家族は3人です。父と母と私です。私の家族は、my family is 3 people. Father, mother, and me. So like this way. So just practice like watching this photo. So this one. This girl is 私. So anybody can say about, explain about this family? Anyone?
Can I say?
Okay, please.
私の家族は3人です。父と母と私はです。
私です。
私です。
はい、ありがとう、フォティーナさん。OK。So, how about this one? ちょっと待って。easier one からいこう。このtwo of them. OK, sorry. I just forgot to tell. So, my husband, 夫。my wife, 妻。my wife, 妻。And then, my children, 子供。夫、妻、子供。This is also a family expression. So, next one. This one. This is 私。Who gonna be? Who gonna will be there? はい、どうぞ、レイナさん。
私の家族は2人です。私と妻です。
はい、yes。私と my spouse, wife, 妻。Okay, how about this one? 4 people. How do you say 4 people in Japanese?
4人。
4
4
人。
人
4人。Yes. Who gonna be? Who will be doing this family? Anyone? のは
はい。
はい。どうぞ。
アイスです。
はい。
私の家族は4人です。
はい。
父と母と弟と私です。
私、この、私ですよ。
OK
父。
父と弟と、
父これ父
父。
I think looks like they are...
娘。
Really?
に
娘。
父と娘と、
父と娘 ?OK。
ハ
ズバンドはハズバンド。
夫。
OK。
夫と、娘と、
子供2人。
2人、子供と私です。
はい、そうです。私の家族は4人です。
難しいですね。
大丈夫。夫と子供2人です。Then, 1、2、3、4、5。5 people, how do you say 5 people?
5人。
5人
5人。OK,
人
who gonna be do 私 who is gonna be だ私 Anyone? どうぞ。Please. Anyone? どうぞ。
はい。
はい。
私の家族は5人います。妻と2人息子と1人娘と私です。
はい。Yes. 息子 doesn't mean son. 娘 doesn't mean daughter. So, 私、妻、息子2人、娘。or 私、妻、子供3人。also OK。はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあ、ラスト。looks like grandfather、grandmother がいますね。私はこれ。私はここです。Who will be? どうですか？はい。
私の家族は6人です。
はい、6人です。
父と母。
父これ父母父母 ?OK、父母と
はい、兄と姉
And then?
Another 兄。
じゃあ兄2人やな。はい。And then?
私。
おこのお父さんとお母さん looks like ちょっとエルダーですね。でも兄がね、そうだね。I see。はい。OK。ありがとう。いいと思います。ありがとうございます。はい。So, next one. So, next one is, ちょっと待って。Next one is using the family photo, explain your family. Okay. So, pointing at your photo or just like circling. この人は父です。この人は父です。この人は母です。この人は姉です。姉の夫です。姉の子供2人です。For example ね。And then you can ask この人は誰ですか？この人は誰ですか？姉です。おいくつですか？42歳です。お仕事は会社員です。or anything you can ask later. はい。For example ですね。So, this is the next session we gonna doing about, but before for that, we can watch the video about talking about family. Okay. ちょっと待ってくださいね。Okay. So, this is the practice about talking about your family. So, please just listen. How do they are speaking, talking?
木村さんのご家族は何人ですか
？5人です。父と妻と子供2人と私です。
奥さんのお仕事は？
妻は会社員です。
お子さんはおいくつですか
？17歳と11歳です。
はい。This is the first one. And the second one.
ダンさん、家族は何人ですか
？4人家族です。父はスウェーデン人、母は日本人です。妹もいます。
へえ、どこに住んでいますか？
奈良です。
妹さんは学生ですか？
はい、そうです。
はい。Like this way, you can ask each other about your family. So, ちょっと待ってね。I just gonna show my family. I'm gonna introduce about my family now. Okay? Can you see? 見てるね。Okay. So, I couldn't find the family photo recently family photo. This is more than 10 years ago. But 私の家族は4人です。父と母と弟と私です。Okay? 私の父と、これは父です。これは母です。これはこの人は、弟の子供です。弟の子供です。弟の子供です。で、私の家族はペットもいます。犬です。犬の梅ちゃんです。うさぎのルナちゃんです。Like this way, you can introduce your family like this way using the photo, and then you can introduce your family ですね。Okay. So then starting from the next again, let's start the breakout session next time. Then same groups and try to make same groups ですね。And then if you can ready, you can start it. So please prepare about your photos or anything, the material that you explain your family. And then also you can talk about your country or any school life or your friends or anything. But so you can introduce about yourself or your family or your around people, anything. You can start talking a lot. So let's start. はい、皆さん、time is very fast ですね。早いよね。So, tomorrow, we gonna do talking about food. So maybe tomorrow also you can continue about today's one. So, of course, tomorrow we will doing the 食べ物 food. But also you can continue about today's one. So today, if you couldn't showing or introduce enough, you can continue to next time. So next group, you can introduce about yourself again. So again. So please enjoy about that. So 今日はtoday will be finished. So see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be 食べ物. Talking about food. So prepare about your favorite food or your local food or anything like materials. So じゃあ明日会いましょう皆さん。ありがとうございました。See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
ありがとうございま
で
し。
したた。
ありがとうございます。
バイバイ。
バイバイ。
Thank you.
Thank you.
ありがとう。
ありがとうございました。
Hi everyone, welcome back. And today we have another session with me and also some other invited speakers. So if everyone is ready, could you please switch on your cameras so we could really see your beautiful smiles and faces. It's always nice to be able to see a screen full of the faces and we can engage with you better. So I really appreciate those who have switched on your cameras. And again, if you didn't see me on Monday, I am Husna Zainal Abidin. I am also a lecturer here at Wakayama University. And today we have a special session. Not just me, but we will have other people talking about the awaited topic of life in Japan. How is it? The reality of living here. You know, you've watched a lot of movies and I'm sure many of you have watched a lot of anime. Is the situation in Japan actually how it is presented? But let's hear it from our guest speakers. First, I would like to welcome our esteemed professor, Professor Joseph Shear today. Thank you, Joseph. And secondly, I would like to welcome our other lecturer, Dr. Nicolas Progano. Everyone, I can see you also clapping with us. It's nice because we have a huge screen behind the camera and we can see everyone also like cheering on our speakers. And last but not least, we have actually, as you can see, there's a space here. We have a real Japanese. We have a Japanese speaker to join us, Miss Kaze Nagamoto.
Finally, Japanese is here to talk to you.
Yes. So we've often, well, throughout these few days, we've been talking about Japanese culture from the perspective of foreigners. But we also felt it's important for you to hear from the perspective of a Japanese person herself. And Kazue-san is she's used to also the Western culture and also the Japanese culture. So if possible, Kazue, would you like to introduce yourself? Briefly?
Okay, yeah. So I'll give you a brief self-introduction. My name is Kazue. I am a principal officer at International Office at Wakayama University. I have been working at Wakayama University for almost 8 years, but before that, I was in Australia. I was living in Australia for almost 15 years. So I was away from Japan for quite a long period of time. So I'd like to put my insight about Japanese culture today. So I will give you a bit of different view of Japanese culture.
Yay, thank you, Kazue. We really appreciate you joining us today, actually on a last minute basis, but we're really thankful for that. So how this session will work is Kazue would like to share with you some of her insights on very detailed aspects of the Japanese culture, which you may not have actually thought of before or never considered. Because like what Joseph mentioned before, it is a very, it's a culture that is very considerate of many different aspects in life. So after Kazue giving you some explanation on the different aspects of culture, I have printed out the many different questions that we received through the survey link. So thank you so much for those of you who sent in your questions. There are quite some similar themes that we will cover. And for Nicolas and Joseph, just relax. And if you have any you'd like to chip in the conversation with Kazue when she presents, feel free, because you guys have been living here far longer than I have, so I'm sure you're more familiar with the culture. So without further ado, I'd like to give the stage to Kazue to give her presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Husna. So can you see my presentation? PowerPoint? Okay. All right. So I will give you a quick insight of Japanese culture. Okay. So what is Japanese culture? Next one. Thank you. Okay. So food is a huge part of Japanese culture, as you know, and Joseph and Nicolas have already covered this topic. So gastronomy and food are very, very big part of Japanese culture. And probably, you know, I put lots of pictures, probably you know all or most of them. So sushi, tonkatsu, octopus balls, onigiri, which is Joseph says a favorite. And so do you know what the sticky looking beans? Have you ever tried? Any of you tried? Joseph Sensei? Hi. Hi. Does it taste good? Oishii. Oishii. This is fermented beans, so which is really good for you. So I don't know if it tastes good, but if you have chance, please try. Do you like Nicolas Sensei? Do you like it?
It's not my type of.
It's not okay. All right.
This is an acquired taste.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And then probably all of you know okonomiyaki, right? So today I had okonomiyaki for lunch. So Kumiko made okonomiyaki for us. So which is very good. So food, as I said, food is very large part of Japanese culture. Next one. Thank you. Okay, so this one, this topic is also covered by Joseph Sensei and Nicolas Sensei. And the sports, so sumo, kendo, baseball, judo, and then Japanese archery, it's called kyudo. So sports is also, sports are also a Japanese culture, a big part of Japanese culture as well. And architecture. So as you know, we have numerous numbers of shrines and temples and traditional buildings, and Kyoto style buildings, and you know, each region has their own style of architecture because of climate. So if you have chance to come to Japan, you can explore Japanese traditional architecture and building, which is quite interesting. And also not only temples and shrines, but also castles. Do you know how many castles in Japan there are there? No. Do you know, does anyone know how many castles Japan has? Anyone?
No idea.
No idea? Nicolas, would you like to say?
No idea, but there are a lot, that's for sure.
Yes. 30,000 castles. So that's a must visit thing in Japan. So if you have a chance, please do this explore trip as well. Next one, thank you. And arts and crafts. So origami is, probably everybody knows origami, what origami is, and ukiyo-e paintings, geisha paintings, and ceramics, and the calligraphy and Japanese traditional fan, together with kimono. These are, you know, a very famous Japanese culture. Next one, thank you. But, next one. Japanese culture is much more than that. So So seasonality. So Japanese really appreciate seasonality, which means so as you know, Japan has 4 seasons, right? So Japanese culture is very much connected to each one of the seasons. Okay, so for example, do you know what wagashi is? Do you know, does anyone know what wagashi is? No. So wagashi is Japanese sweets. So for example, so wagashi represent all 4 seasons. For example, top on your left-hand side. So for example, wagashi, can I just point out? Okay, thank you. So for example, this wagashi, this leaf, this one is a cherry tree leaf. So which means this wagashi is we have for spring.
So it's made from the sakura tree.
Sakura tree, yes. Yeah. Okay, and this one, so sunflower shaped wagashi, which means
Spring.
No,
Summer.
Summer. And this one is fig and
Autumn.
no. Summer. Okay, so this one is maple leaf shaped, and this one is ginkgo tree leaf shaped. And this one's persimmon, which means autumn, and this one is camellia. So which means which represent winter. Okay,
They're just too beautiful to be eaten.
Yeah, wagashi also always look beautiful. Yeah, and kimono also. So this is a kimono sash. You all of you know kimono, right? All of you know kimono.
Yes.
So the sash, the belt. Yeah. So when you have chance to see kimono, look at kimono, you look at the belt and the picture, not picture, the image.
Yes.
Yeah. Of the sash, yeah, represent what season this the sash is for. So this one is for a lunar festival, which means
Summer.
autumn.
You gotta get the near.
Autumn. Okay. So this one, crabs, which means
Winter.
summer. Okay. These are cute. Okay. So these are cucumbers. So summer. Okay.
Yes.
Hydrangeas.
Summer.
Yes. Okay. And these are maple tree leaves. Autumn. Yeah. So you know that the nature and the seasonality is really, really important for Japanese culture.
Yeah. So in a way, for you guys outside Japan, the next time you go to Kyoto and wear a kimono, you know which kimonos to choose from to ensure that you wear the right one for that season.
Yeah. Okay. So if you visit Kyoto in spring and you would like to try kimono on, so which image you have to pick?
So Kazan-san, this is only for women. Can men wear these sashes as well?
No.
Okay.
This is only for women. Okay, so seasonality is one of the feature of Japanese culture. And the second one is locality. So I put this map. This map is different types of miso. Have you tried miso soup? Yes, of course. I have miso soup every morning, but each region we have, by the way, do you know how many prefectures Japan has? How many prefectures? How many?
42.
Oh, sorry.
47
prefectures. So not each one, but each region has different types of miso. For example, Nagano prefecture, rice miso. Aichi prefecture, beans miso. this Kumamoto, Kyushu area with miso. So each area has different types of miso. Okay, so locality is a big part of Japanese culture as well, on top of seasonality. So art craft is also each region or each prefecture or each even town or village has their own art craft. So this one is, very famous for Shiga prefecture. And this ceramic is very famous for Kyushu. So each one of them represent a certain place. This is a map of Japanese art crafts. So you can see how many different types of traditional art crafts in Japan. So you have to go so many places to experience different types of art crafts. And omiyage, have you ever heard of the word omiyage? Hi. Could you please explain what omiyage is to the audience, to the students?
I may be mistaken, but omiyage is where when we travel, we consider buying gifts for all of our family and friends. In fact, it's more than a consideration, it's almost an obligation. Because if you went home or back to the office and you didn't bring gifts, your friends and family will no longer want to be associated with you. Is that right?
Yeah, more or less, yes. So omiyage is not just a present or gift. It's the direct translation is a souvenir, but omiyage is much more nuanced than your typical Western ideas of a gift. So as Joseph Sensei said, whenever you go somewhere for business trip, whatever you have to go, you are probably expected to get omiyage, this gift. And then each one of omiyage represent the place you are from. For example, this triangle thing, this is from Kyoto, for example. And this one is from Wakayama. Is that correct? Oh no, Hokkaido, sorry, Hokkaido. Yeah, so each one of omiyage represent the place you are from. So if you have an opportunity to work somewhere in Japan, whenever you go somewhere, don't forget to get omiyage. Okay, you are expected to get omiyage for your colleagues, particularly. And then even KitKat. Everybody knows KitKat, right? Right? Yes. So even KitKat, not each, but a lot of prefecture has their own flavor of KitKat. For example, this one, watermelon flavor, rock melon flavor. This is from Hokkaido. Okay, this one is sweet potato. This one is sweet potato. Okinawa. Yes. This one is matcha flavor from Kyoto. This one is Mount Fuji from Fuji. Which prefecture?
Kanazawa.
Yamanashi. Okay. So this one is an apple flavor KitKat.
Apple, Aomori.
Aomori, good. And this one is very famous for pork.
Yokohama.
Yokohama. Yeah.
So in a way, it helps you to learn geography too.
Yes, in a way. So so to wrap up, so seasonality and locality are very important part of Japanese culture. So that's it from me. Thank you. Over to you, Husna.
Thank you so much, Kazue.
Thank you.
I too have learned a lot of things. That's why, had it been just us three, you might have not gained this additional insider's perspective. I never knew that there were even Kit Kats from the different prefectures. And so also in a way it highlights how important, I've lost my train of thought, but let's go to the question of the different surveys, the different questions that you sent through the survey. The most common question that we got yesterday and today was relating to etiquette and also, in a way, the cultural differences. So I'd like to ask all of you, what are the different aspects of culture that you experienced that were very surprising to you before you came, and how did you actually adapt to it? If Joseph would like to answer.
Okay, I will start. Well, there are many, and it's very difficult to choose one, right? But the main one is in Australia, where I'm from, if you go to a public toilet and you wash your hands, they're usually hand dryers, right? And probably in the countries that you're from. But in Japan, most toilets don't have hand dryers. So what a lot of Japanese people do is they carry their own little cloth in their pocket. And you will always see them standing outside toilets drying their hands. Now, as a foreigner, I came here and my hands were always wet and I didn't know where to dry them, right? So if you come to Japan, buy a cloth to dry your hands. Otherwise, you will walk around with wet hands like this and you won't know what to do. So that's me. I'm used to being an idiot in Japan.
And how about you, Nicolas?
Well, for me, I think that when I came here, I already know a bit of Japanese language, so it wasn't that much the language itself, but sometimes you know how, for example, when you want to invite your friends or you want to make a plan with your friends, usually in my country, I'm from Argentina, we just, you know, the day before, just invite people, say, oh, let's get together, and that's all really, right? But in Japan, even with your friends or people you know, if you want to, you know, go out together, have fun, you know, just in a casual gathering, usually people like to know in advance, right? So sometimes if you want to have like a plan or you want to go out, even if it's something, you know, just with your friends, try to have a bit of, tell them it some days before, because if you tell them the same day or the day before, it will be, maybe there will be some kind of problem, maybe they cannot go or something like that, right? Usually the plans are like you meet at that time, usually in a train station, you meet in the train station, it's a certain time and you're going to a certain place, right? It's more like planned rather than more casual.
Yes, just add to what Nicolas says, no surprise visits.
Exactly, no surprise visits. Very, very important.
I think that's like very different to Malaysian and Indonesian culture, where we often have surprise visits from literally random people, extended family members, your grandma's cousin who you don't really know. But yeah, and for me, I would say this relates to one of the questions that someone asked to Joseph on Monday, talking about halal tourism. So before coming to Japan, I thought that I would have a variety of food to eat from because they have so many seafood, and I was so excited. But actually when you come here, at least for someone who does have dietary requirements, it might be quite challenging because even for like soy sauce, there's often alcohol, or in the form of what they call mirin, is added on top for the taste. And also today when we had the, what was it? Okonomiyaki. The okonomiyaki sauce had pork liquid. So maybe in Indonesian or Malay, it is cecai khinzir. So be careful whenever you are trying new food at restaurants. But the good thing is that people at restaurants and also your Japanese friends, they're really, they're more than happy to help you. And I know like Kazue is often the one helping to check for all of the ingredients. So in a way, how do I adapt to this challenge? You can use Google Translate to translate the ingredients. You can also, in a way, for me nowadays, when I go to restaurants, I would sometimes just go, I have a meat allergy. It just makes things easier. Or I also bring like a small bottle of soy sauce that has no alcohol. So that's the differences that I saw, but I'm more than happy to realize that the people here around me are really accommodating and want to make me feel safe and welcomed. So that's great.
Can I add one more?
Yes.
I'm looking at all the faces and I can see that you're all quite young. You're probably in your 20s, right? And you're probably looking to come to Japan. And one of the things at the top of your list, and you're probably not going to mention this because, you know, it's very private, but you're probably thinking, how do Japanese people date, right? I can see all of you thinking that, see? And some of you are taking notes, but for me, as a social scientist, I like to observe people. So this is not from my experience. Nicolas probably has more experience than me. But what I've learned that when it comes to dating rituals in Japan, you can't be so obvious, right? For the gentleman, if you find someone attractive, don't stare at them, right? You will scare them more than impress them. And I also understand that you can't be as direct, right? You first, you know, have to do this and approach someone in a very diplomatic way and not openly saying, do you want to go on a date, right? Also, as I understand from my Japanese colleagues, because of the reservedness of the Japanese nature, it's important to take things slowly. So when you come here, don't expect to fall in love in 2 or 3 days. Give it 3 to 6 months. Get to know someone before you take the risk. So anyway, you want to add to that?
I just I don't know if this is directly connected, but I was in Australia, as I said, I was in Australia for 15 years, and the Australians, Westerners are very direct. So which I struggled hugely when I just arrived in Australia, because in Japan, people are very humble. Humbleness and politeness is the greatest virtue in Japan. So I respect that. But if I move to Western society, I have to be very direct. I have to be very clear. I have to express myself very clearly, very straightforward. So, but here it's completely opposite. So probably you might find it a bit strange or difficult.
Exactly. No, I agree. And it follows up from Joseph's session on Monday, right? Talking about how important body language is. So before you come to Japan, it would be helpful if you read more about, the body language, the etiquette in terms of communication and speaking. And I think you will also learn on the go while you're here in Japan. And
making mistakes is important. You know, being able to laugh at yourself and not take yourself so seriously is a good way to engage and learn what is expected of you.
Exactly. Making mistakes is okay. And talking about mistakes, were there any mistakes that you've done, Joseph?
Oh, yes, many. Well, because my Japanese language is really bad, my pronunciation is very important. So work hard on your pronunciation, not like me. So for example, we recently went to a restaurant and the words for hurry up and I will pay the bill are the same, right? So when I went up to the reception to pay the bill, instead of saying ishode, I said isoide. So ishode, isoide means hurry up. So instead of asking for the bill, I told the guy to hurry up. You know, and I didn't know why he was looking at me in a very confused and slightly annoyed manner, right? Until Kazuo-san told me, and then I apologized, and then he laughed, and then we all laughed, right? So this is what happens. You make a mistake, you own up to it, you laugh, you carry on.
True. I think for me, one of the mistakes that I did, this is one of the topics that were asked, is related to transportation. And for me, it's related to taxis. In Malaysia, or before I lived in the UK, taxi doors are not automatic. So I did a big mistake in terms of, getting in. And then I heard from the driver saying something in Japanese. I heard doa, but I couldn't understand because, I don't really speak Japanese well. And the mistake I made was I went out and then I was.
I also slammed a few doors.
Yeah. So that's one tip for all of you. Taxis have automated doors. Do not open it, do not close it, and just leave it. And how about you, Nicolas? Did you make any mistakes?
Well, I slam a few doors, taxi doors here, that's for sure. Sometimes also what happens is like, especially when you try to make like open bank accounts, etc. Try to, if you can read Japanese, even if you can read Japanese, try to ask a Japanese person to confirm that you are actually understanding what they need, right? Because for opening bank accounts, well, different type of, paperwork, try to check what actually they are asking or what they send, because sometimes you think you understand what's going on, or you say, oh, in my country, they do it like this. It's going to probably be the same. And chances are it's not the same. So yeah, also try to be careful, because sometimes I did the same. I go to a place, saying, oh, this is going to be very easy, and you need another paper, or it was another day, or perhaps the place closes at another hour. So try to check even simple things that you say, oh, it's going to be very easy. Just check, just in case.
Can I add to it? So my mistake is I had a guest from probably Spain once, and then I made a mistake about body language. So I was talking to that person, the guest, and then I did this. Do you know what that means?
It means no.
No, that means no. But I thought this body language was universal. So I automatically thought that person understood me completely, but she misunderstood me completely. She couldn't understand what this meant. So in Japan, this means no.
And this
means okay.
Yeah.
So it's very good when you're at a distance with friends in the shopping center, and if they're on the other side, you can go like this or like this.
Yeah.
So body language is not universal. So probably it might be a challenge for you as well.
It's also very good in bars, right? If someone approaches you and you have friends on the other side and you want them to come and get you, right? But another mistake I made is really important, because everyone will find this, right? You will have to go to the doctor at some point, right? So I went to a medical clinic once when I first arrived to get all of my tests, right? And at the beginning, it was taking a while, and about 4 nurses came, and they would put their head out and they would look at me, and I was wondering, what's going on? What don't they know about my situation? The thing is, foreign names are very difficult to identify gender for Japanese people, right? In general, right? So here I was sitting there waiting for an appointment and waiting for the doctor to look at me, but there was all of this confusion and people running around thinking, in the end I discovered when the nurse came to me, she was very, very shy and said, sumimasen, what gender are you? And so they were struggling to understand whether I was male or female. And to put them at ease and to stop them from being embarrassed, I said, I'm male, but if you would like me to show you, I can. Anyway, this is what I mean about humor being a good way to overcome obstacles to communication. But anyway.
Over to you, Husna. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And I think one thing that comes up to mind in terms of what are the differences with Japan in terms of like shopping. So one thing that I realized is that the changing rooms, the etiquette is that all the changing rooms would be carpeted. It's not like that in Malaysia or in the UK. So you are expected to take your shoes off before entering the changing cubicle. And then you put your basket outside. And for ladies, I don't know for the men's side, for ladies' side, we have this, it's like a bag, like a cover, like a bag to put over your head. And when you wear the shirt or blouse, it doesn't get your makeup onto the blouse. So that's one etiquette. I know, I can see like you guys so surprised at it. It is a surprising thing. I didn't know at the start.
It's a common practice here.
Yes.
It's very sexist. Men don't have to do that. Anyway.
Yeah. Unless you would like to also. And yeah, so I've seen sometimes when I went to Kyoto or Osaka, some foreigners actually wearing their shoes inside the cubicle, and you can see the staffs having a very like staring at them in disagreement. So I hope you won't make that mistake. And then another common question that we have is relating to transportation. It's like a general transportation. How do we get around? I think it's common, perhaps like most of you would, well, it is normal that transportation here, public transport is really good in Japan. So you can easily get around by train and bus, especially in the bigger cities. In Wakayama, you can, there is accessibility. However, it just depends, right? In Wakayama, it might be helpful to have a car because there's mountains. We are famous with mountains. And how about anyone else? Have you?
Well, on the trains, you would usually have a card with money on it, right? So that's pretty easy. But in rural areas, when you get onto buses, sometimes you need coins, right? So if you're not used to carrying lots of coins, and I suppose that the Chinese attendees in this webinar, you're probably not used to carrying cash, right? You're probably used to using a card of some description, but carrying coins is so important. And in Japan, they have some lovely coins. So your pockets will always be full of coins. But it's good to have because sometimes the bus driver might not have change. And if you can't communicate with the bus driver, you know, how do you do this? So always be prepared for anything. As Nicolas warned before, every day is an adventure, especially when you have to go to an administrative office, because you think you might know what you need, but very often 2 or 3 trips is going to be necessary. So you have to be very zen.
Accept the differences. And talking about trains, one thing that is different here in Japan, you don't really speak in trains. And it's a huge no-no to be speaking on mobile phones. Anything?
And we have a ladies' cart.
Oh yes, yes. There's a ladies' cart and a ladies' section. So
only ladies can get in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah, here is like it's a certain cars, right?
Yes.
Here in Nantes,
Yeah.
certain cars at certain hours.
Yes.
Certain hours. Yeah.
And usually there are seats set aside for elderly people or disabled.
Yeah.
And even if the train is full, often you won't see people sitting on it, except for foreigners. So don't be one of those foreigners that sits on those seats.
Agree.
You can also sleep in the train. That's also pretty common here.
Yes.
You will see a lot of people sleeping on the train.
And it's an amazing skill. They can sleep on the train, but suddenly they're awake as soon as their station comes. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah. They kind of have like a sense, you know.
Yeah. I still haven't trained myself to do that. The other day I was asleep and then I missed my stop, but you know.
Yeah, thank you everyone for those really funny stories. And so moving on to slightly more serious topics, this is related to culture, a topic that all 3 of you spoke about. And one question is, how do we protect tradition and enlighten people to love and respect the cultural diversity that we live in?
That's a very tough question. It's a really tough question. But to start with, I think, you know, before I went to live in Australia, I never ever appreciated, I never ever even thought about Japanese culture. I was not interested in wagashi, kimono, but as soon as I was away, I started thinking about my own culture. I started appreciating more about my own culture, where I'm from. So now I love wearing kimono. Now I would love to learn flower arrangement, for example, tea ceremony. So it's important to understand more and appreciate more.
True. True. I think we often take for granted where we grew up in and where we live. For example, I haven't really explored much of Malaysia, but I've explored more of Europe and Japan than in Malaysia. But I think after you have traveled overseas, it makes you more appreciative, like what Kazuo said, appreciate your own culture and tradition and identity. And would Joseph or Nicolas like to add to that?
Yeah, maybe also we have been thinking, talking about these days. We also been talking, also Kazuo has been saying, it's about the mutual understanding between the different cultures, right? Like everybody has their own culture, everybody has their own traditions or way of thinking, or viewpoints, and the other person also have their own, right? So in a way, you try to learn from them and try to reach a certain middle ground of understanding, so everybody can get along, right? I think there is an important element there with education, understanding, communication. Also the language also shapes usually how people think or behave. Right? So I think those are also important points.
And when you travel and immerse yourself in another culture, it often makes you reflect on your own culture and the contrast between what you would do at home and what they do in Japan, right? One of the biggest things is being open-minded. When you travel, if you're open-minded, you will I suppose, open the pathway to having richer experiences. Whereas if you travel and you're closed-minded, like a lot of my Australian mates, when they travel here, when we take them out to eat, I'll say, what do you want? Oh, can we go to McDonald's? And this is what I mean. If you're immersing yourself in a culture, you need to take risks. You can't, you need to be able to open yourself up to new ideas and ways of doing things, because there will be some things you will experience that you will think, oh, this is weird, oh, this is strange. But rather than comparing them to what you would do at home, it's about appreciating the differences.
Yeah, I think embracing the differences between cultures is very important. So being away from your own country is I think it's quite important to appreciate more about your own culture.
Thank you for sharing it. And talking about culture, are there any special festivals that you would love to go or you have experienced and would like to share with them? Special festivals in Japan. Yes.
I actually remember I participated a few times in the Wakamatsuri, in the Matsuri here in Wakayama City. And also the students here, well, the foreigners, the students here in Wakayama University can also participate in the big parade that they do here in Japan. Also participating in the first time you go to the shrine, for the first day of the year. That's also, I think that's really nice, because there's usually a lot of people. They put all the food stalls, the yatai, they're called in Japanese the yatai, with a lot of food, and you can see people dressed with yukata or kimonos, and it's very interesting to see all the celebrations or the things that the local Japanese communities do.
Yeah, true. The New Year's Eve is probably lots of people go to shrine for special prayer. So that's probably very special.
What was the name? Hatsumode, right? Hatsumode, that's the name. Hatsumode.
Yeah.
I haven't been to too many festivals because since I've been here, it's been COVID times, right? And a lot of the festivals were cancelled because of coronavirus. But when it comes to special occasions, which is attached to festivals, one of the things that you might know, and I found quite surprising, on Valentine's Day, what do people do in Japan? They go to KFC. Or is it Christmas?
No, that's Christmas.
At Christmas time, they go to KFC for dinner. Now, I was always wondering, why are they doing this? But I believe there's a whole story behind it where KFC created this Christmas theme. So much so now that one of the modern traditions is for people to go to KFC to have chicken at Christmas time.
And have cake also, the Christmas cake.
Christmas cake.
And also talking about Valentine's Day, there's a different experience, is there not? You mentioned to me before.
I don't know how you celebrate Valentine's Day. So 14th of February here in Japan, this is tradition. I believe it or not. We women usually give chocolate to man. Nothing from man.
No one's ever given me chocolate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's a tradition. And then on the 14th of March, men have to give marshmallow. Marshmallow. No, chocolate, sweet.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Present to girls. That's our tradition. So lots of traditions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting traditions we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as we talk about traditions, we mentioned about going to the temples and shrines. And could you share with our students here on what is the etiquette of actually when you are visiting the shrine?
Praying.
Can you do a demonstration?
In the shrine, well, you know, no, I can. So usually, you know, before you enter the shrine, you have like a
Torii gate.
There's a Torii gate, but you know, you have the place with the water.
Yes.
It's like a small. It depends on the place. But it's like a small casket or box with water, right?
So it's like taking ablution for the
Yeah, it's like
Shinto
really
version.
like a ablution. So you have like a long spoon like this, right? Usually they have like a long spoon that you wash your hand and your mouth. So you go your right hand, your left hand, you wash, then you grab this, you wash your right hand, then with your right hand, you wash again your left hand, you wash your mouth, you wash again your hand, and then you hold the spoon like this. So you wash also the spoon and you pour your hands and you return it.
Why are you washing?
To clean yourself.
To clean yourself, you're entering like a shrine, you know, like a sacred space. So,
and then when you go into the shrine,
Then you go, and then you go into shrine. 2 bows. Bow twice, and then clap twice, and then pray, and then bow once. That's the rule.
And also relating to the Torii gate, right?
Yeah.
Kazuya mentioned before that you would walk on the side, not in the
side.
middle pathway of the big, beautiful Torii gate.
but before you go under the Torii gates, you have to bow as well. So lots of bowing. If you've got a lower back problem, you're in trouble.
It'll strengthen your back.
Yeah.
And let's look at the other question. So there's one recent, very new question, and this student was asking, what's the different life or different styles of working and work time between Europe and Japan? So for example, I guess what's the different culture or working culture between other countries and Japan? And here, for example, OT, do you have to stay late here in Japan? Something like that. I guess
Yes, I'd like to share my experience with you guys. So again, I was in Australia. I started working at the university in Australia. My biggest challenge was I had to call my supervisor with her first name. So it's like, Joseph, if he is my supervisor, I have to call him Joseph, not director, Dr. Chia. In Japan, never, ever call my supervisor with their first name, never. But in Australia, it's huge, it's common. So that was my challenge, the biggest challenge. So it's very formal culture here in Japan, but you know, the office culture is very formal. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge for me.
I think that's a very important point. You know, in Australia, my students would see me around campus and they would say, "Hey, Joe, how's it going?" But when you come to Japan, you can't do that.
No.
You have to bow and say, "Nicolas Sensei."
Yeah, it's just like
Sensei. The politeness is a big part. Yeah, formality is a big part.
And like you said, like hierarchies, right? Like everybody
hierarchy,
has
yes.
their rank, their position.
Yeah.
Also, my experience working in Japan, it's important to present yourself in a manner that will encourage people to see you in a good light, right? For example, I will give you an example. If I was a professor and I walked around with thongs and shorts and a t-shirt, people around me would suggest that that's probably not appropriate for someone like me. Similarly, coming to class as a student dressed like you would go to the beach is probably not a good idea either, because like most cultures, right, we are judged on our presentation of ourselves. And I think it's equally, or if not more important in Japan, to present yourself in a professional manner, especially if you're at work.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And I can see that there's a question related to tourism, and also that's similar to some of the questions here. Can you share more about the different kinds of tourism that the Japanese enjoy most? Who is that? But yeah, perhaps maybe for Kazue, you could share more thoughts about what type of tourism would Japanese enjoy most. And I know someone sent a question about, can you talk more about health tourism?
Yeah, so wellness tourism may be related to onsen tourism, probably one of the most interesting tourism in Japan here, I think, and gastronomy as well. Gastronomy tourism.
Gastronomy.
Spiritual tourism for religious
tourism
reasons
as well.
is very important.
Yes.
They often fall around main public holidays when, like we were talking about New Year's Eve, where people would go to the shrine as one of the main things they do.
Also visiting their relatives in certain times of the year. They go, for example, if the person is originally from, I don't know, Wakayama, but now they live in Osaka, for example. In Obon festivals, or maybe for New Year Eve, they go back to their hometown, to be with their family, and then they go back.
Also, there's it's called contents tourism, this kind of performative type of tourism where you dress and you go somewhere. For example, Yoyogi Park in Tokyo is a very famous place where people dress up, in Lolita type clothes, and performative tourism, I think, is very important for someone who asked the question. So there are many types of tourism that are distinctly Japanese.
And related to the context tourism, also now some, for example, anime fans go to visit the location, the real life locations that were featured in different types of anime or J-dramas, right? So they go to visit, they go to the same locations and, take pictures, post them on the internet.
True. Pop culture tourism is a big deal here for the Japanese people and also for international people. I would also like to, I think this is an important question for many of the students here. If someone doesn't really understand Japanese and they come to Japan, what should they best prepare for? Like, what should they prepare?
I think I'm the best person to answer that question. And Husna's looking at me, and I know she wants me to answer the question. Well, for me, one of the best things I've done, and I have a mobile phone with an app on it. The app is called Voictra. Voice, T-R-A. If you don't have Voictra on your telephone before you come to Japan, put it on, because it's really, really useful. And it helped me get out of some very sticky situations. So, but also the Google Translate, the one where you can use the camera to take a photo of a sign, and it helps, especially if you're driving, right? I remember I was driving once, and I didn't know whether I could park in a place or not, and so I used my Google thing, and I looked at it, and it said, what did it say? It's always very polite when it says "do not enter" or anything like that, right? And in this case, I think it said something about private something. So, and often if you're driving like me and you don't read kanji, it's very dangerous, because it might be saying, don't go down here, the road ends. And here am I driving along and going through that sign, right? So exercise caution, download the app, also have the Google Translator thing. It's useful, and people don't mind speaking into your phone if you want them to.
Exactly. No, I agree. Similar to Joseph, I do not speak much of Japanese, but what I found helpful is actually learning katakana first before anything else. because in Japan, English words would also be written in katakana. So if you can read katakana, it's easier to understand what type of shop that is, or what type of facility there is. That actually helped me to learn that version of writing first. Nicolas, do you have any tips?
Apart from I feel that it was really a good idea what Joseph said about the app. If you have also, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but if you have any Japanese friend also, they can help you a lot. They are very, very helpful, especially when you have to, plan something, administrative work, or you have to go to the office hall, or you have to prepare a trip. Maybe you want to prepare your own trip to, to some part in Japan or during your holidays. Asking for help here is also really, really useful.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of asking for some help, because we are always happy. We are more than happy to help, and we are good people. So do not afraid, please.
Yeah, I think oftentimes you might feel reluctant to ask for help and sort things out yourself. But I remember when I was at Tokyo Station the first time I came, I asked someone, I looked around and everyone's rushing around and you think, oh, no one would want to stop and help me. But then I asked one person about where to go, and suddenly there was about 8 or 9 people looking around trying to help me as well. So there's a natural inclination to want to help. So feel free to ask, but ask politely.
True. And especially if you're in the regional areas or more village places, the people are lovely and sweet, especially the grandmas and grandpas. They're all lovely people. Usually in Tokyo, they'd be more busy and more like, capital city vibes. But yeah, most people are really welcoming and friendly and would be more than happy to help you. And with that, we only have a few more minutes to go. Could we like share final remarks on the topic of life in Japan?
See, this is very Japanese. This is very Japanese, right?
Very polite.
No one wants to be first. You will say you first. No, you first. No, you first. And it's like, well, one reflection I will share is when you go out to dinner with friends, it takes a long time to say goodbye because everyone is standing out the front saying, okay, bye-bye, okay, bye-bye. And you spend about 10 minutes doing that to everybody. So if you want to leave quickly, just say bye-bye and go. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be there for about 10 minutes, say goodbye to everybody. Anyway.
Exactly.
So we start like this?
Yes.
Okay, for me, especially what we have been talking about today and these days, that of course, living in another country, living in another culture, especially if you don't share the language, is challenging. It can be a challenging experience, of course, but it can also be a very rich experience, very rewarding experience. You can also discover things about yourself. You can meet people from not only Japan, but also from all around the world, different places. And yeah, sometimes it's challenging, of course, but if you take the chance, and if you try to prepare, you try it out, really. Just try it out, like Joseph said, make mistakes. It's fine, it doesn't matter. There's not a perfect way of living in Japan or a perfect way of studying abroad. Just go, you try, and probably it will be fine.
But the most important word you need to know is sumimasen, because in Japan, you apologize a lot for a lot of things. And when you're a foreigner and you don't speak Japanese a lot, sumimasen is a very important word.
Very true, very true. I'd say like there will be many differences from your existing culture, but difference doesn't mean that it's bad. Neither is it good. It's just how you perceive it and accept it. I think differences could also bring new perspectives and make you learn more about understanding other people and understanding other cultures. Be open-minded, and try to learn the language. Don't be too hard on yourself. Go with the flow, and just ask other people. People are really friendly.
Yeah. Okay. One thing from me. Now you can get lots of information about Japanese culture through online, but I think it's very important to experience, to smell, to feel, to taste, to touch Japanese culture. So it's very important for you to actually physically come here to experience directly. So whenever you have chance, please come and experience true Japan and Japanese culture. That's from me.
That's a beautiful ending, Kaze-san. Thank you. And I know that we couldn't answer all of the questions. There are some questions specifically on like student accommodation, student life. I am aware that there are other international students here who are teaching you Japanese during the hour before, right? So please do reach out to them and ask more questions about that. And tomorrow we have Kumiko-san's cooking session. Yay! I hope you will enjoy that session and join in, prepare the ingredients if you are able to. Thank you so much, Nicolas, Joseph, and Kazue for joining all of us in sharing the information and experience. I hope you've learned many things from today's session. So without further ado, we'll see you in the upcoming days.
Yay! Bye!
Bye-bye.